Welcome back, everyone, to part trace of the Mortal Kombat Combat Pack 3 wish list. This time we have Razor's list, so why don't you kick us off with your number 7, sir?
Right off the bat, huh? No foreplay.
No, we're just going to dive right into it.
I wanted to make a joke about how futile this endeavor is because we're getting Chameleon, a horror character, an 80s movie character, and maybe somebody from the 3D era.
It's possible. I mean, that's probably dead on the money.
But alright, I'll jump into my number 7.
Sure.
I mean, it's honestly not any better or worse than what I just said. My number 7's actually Dagon.
It's one of those lists.
Well, only a little.
Sure.
The thing is, like, the reason I picked Dagon is because, like, he's tied to fucking Kenshi and Takeda. And I think it's weird that they set up all that backstory and he's not even there.
Alright.
And, I feel like you could use the elements of Armageddon without the plot of Armageddon. Like, I don't ever want to see Blaze again. And Taven is kind of lame. But if I'm being 100% honest, I think the Red Dragons are cooler than the Black Dragons, even though they don't have any good characters. Just like in terms of the core concept, I've never liked the Black Dragon Gang. And I don't like Mavado and Su Hao, everybody knows he's the worst, but I don't know, there's something... Well, what it is about Dagon that appeals to me is the fact that his voice actor sounded like Clancy Brown's Lex Luthor. I'm sure I've said that before, but I think it would be cool if, like, MK had a reason to cast Clancy Brown for something. Like, bring him in as a voice actor. And you got a bald guy who kind of looks like Lex. And I don't know, I think there's some... Taven and Dagon could have potential, because there's sort of like a Thor and Loki dynamic there, you know?
Sure.
I don't know, I just feel like a lot of my list is based on plot threads we see in, like, the endings and stuff that's hinted at that doesn't fucking go anywhere in the game as it is now.
Makes sense. You're the story guy. Makes sense to want characters just to flesh out story a bit more.
Yeah.
Alright, so we got Dagon to start things off at number 7. Not sure how to feel.
Well, yeah, there's a reason I put Dagon last. I mean, he's... Like, I'd like to see him, but he's not in my top 4 because I'm certain it's not gonna happen.
I mean, he could be on the honorable mentions, I'm just saying.
Well, my honorable mentions are higher up than my 7 is, weirdly enough. Like, I'm just... There's a weird logic to it, I'll explain when I get there, but...
Okay. So, Dagon.
Yeah, Dagon.
Interesting.
My number 6 is Havik.
Alright. Yep, so far, spoilers for anybody that hasn't watched the first 2 videos, which go ahead and do that, because I'll at least call back to them, but Havik is one that has so far made it... It's just a bird. I just searched Havik and it's just a bird.
Look at pictures of owls.
Yeah, I know. Havik is one that has made it to both Temp and I's lists, so it's not really surprising. That's something that he's a character that we all kind of wanted to see in the game to some degree. I mean, he wasn't our number 1 choice, but we would have been just as happy to see him. So that's great that he made your list as well.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is, like... The comic was not enough for me, you know, because it doesn't really feel canon. Like, there's too many unanswered questions about the plot of that. So I'd really like to see Havik in there, mostly to, like, clarify what's going on. That's a great picture. Oh, that's good. But, yeah, so I just sort of like to see Vogel write down his version of what the hell happened in the comic, how much of it is canon and isn't, and Plus, we've talked a million times before that we all like Havik, and we think he has a lot of potential.
Right.
Especially in that art style.
Let's see. This is by Cargo Camp on DeviantArt. Just so everyone knows.
Enjoy the exposure, Cargo Camp.
Indeed. This is what we're here for, bringing to light.
We're trying. Want to bring attention to the lesser-known artists in the community.
Sure. Carry on.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a whole lot to say to justify this pick. I think everybody would have seen it coming. We're all going to pick Havik.
Sure. Yeah, Havik's character that seems like he just like I've said in previous videos, got a good look, got a fun play style, and has some interesting story potential there. So he's just a character that could be brought back for another run. I'd be surprised if he never comes back.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he will. I mean, it's just a question of when.
Right.
But so yeah, moving on to my number 5. On the same thread, the same train of thought, my number 5 is Reiko.
All right. Yep, he's one that did not make Temp's list. On mine, he just missed out. I traded him out for Freddy as an honorable mention. But yeah, I wouldn't be upset to see him again. I think he's got some fun potential. So why did he make your list?
Well, my list and Temp's are going to have a lot in common. The main difference is he's a big fan of a lot of MK3 characters, and I'm a big fan of a lot of MK4 characters.
Right.
But mostly my reason for picking Reiko is just because, they keep mentioning him in the game and the Reiko Accords, and I just think it's weird that he's not actually in the game when his name is getting that much play.
Sure.
And I know the comic is supposed to be the telling of what the Reiko Accords, how that came about, and what that is, but again, I doubt its canonicity. So I'd like a more official look at Reiko in the MKX canon. Also, I've just always really liked the character's moves, like his playstyle. A lot of it is a ripoff of Noob Saibot, but I like the storm of throwing stars.
Right.
And that weird, that backflip kick he sort of shares with Lee May.
Yeah, I like the kick.
I really like that weird move he had in MK4. It was sort of a teleport and function, but he just, crossed his arms over his chest and spun around you.
Yeah, that was really weird.
It was weird, but I'd like to see it come back just because it's kind of funny.
Yeah, he's a character that I was kind of surprised not see make the game just based on the comic. I thought he was one that had a decent chance. But as we soon found out, the comic didn't really have any correlation to who actually made the game, because there's a lot of characters that were featured in the comic that didn't necessarily translate to the game. But yeah, he's a character that I wouldn't mind seeing again. He was only in MK4 and Armageddon. I think there's some potential there. Maybe not now. Is he dead? The thing that
really appeals to me about Havik's character, personality-wise, is you don't really see among the bad guys somebody who's really a calm, thoughtful strategist type of guy. They all sort of Quan Chi's sort of a plotter, but mainly they're just these guys who lose their temper and start screaming when they're mad. And
right. It's kind of
Reiko's this guy who, even when he loses a fight, he's good game, and walks away. And when he gets beat up by Taven in Armageddon, I really like that. I think that's different for a bad guy in this this universe.
More calm and calculated, measured. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I don't know what his chances are. I'd say maybe 30%. He's got some fans out there, and I think there's still potential with him. I don't know how they're going to work that in, if he's dead in the comics or whatever, if the comic even matters. We've seen, it doesn't really, but...
but the thing is, Goro's not really in the story, and he's in the game, so that's sort of how I figure Reiko's role could be. He could just,
Combat
all of
Pack,
his photos and stuff would reference, the past or whatever,
Right, the DLC for sure makes sense here. him in a combat pack, you don't really necessarily need to have him. I was thinking more in the future. It'd be kind of hard to write him in there. But yeah, if he's going to make any game, you would think this one would be the one that he makes based on...
Well, I mean, the thing about a guy died and that makes him harder to write in the future, not so much.
Well, it is Mortal Kombat, yeah.
Yeah. Reiko already has a history of dying and going to hell and coming back in other games.
Right. It's true. Teasing becoming Shao Kahn, you know.
Yeah, like he's fucking a member of the Brotherhood of Shadow.
Right. That makes sense, yeah.
And speaking of the Brotherhood of Shadow, that brings me to my number 4, which is Noob Saibot.
Noob is good. Why Noob?
Yep. I could use that one. That's, I think, what he looks like in the mobile app.
Absolutely not. So why did you choose Noob Saibot?
Well, Noob is one of my favorite characters. Like, he's in my top 3, really. Excuse me. And the thing about Noob is he's in every game except MKX. I mean, if you count the Game Boy version of Deadly Alliance, he's never missed a game before until now.
Right.
And I feel like... I don't know. I don't think it's fair to break Bihan's streak.
Yeah, he's definitely got a good, like, one of the best chances, in my opinion, out of the majority of the characters that we've listed, just based on popularity. Like you said, he hasn't missed... There we go. That's perfect.
Oh, it's even animated.
But yeah, no, he's got popularity, he's got the look, he's got that cool factor to him, he's got fun gameplay. I'd be interested to see what he's up to, you know, after MK9. So,
I mean, I think he has, of all my picks, the best chance of actually making it in.
Sure, absolutely.
Because, I mean, we haven't had a pack yet that didn't have a ninja in it, if you count the Cybers.
Right.
And Noob, I mean, honestly, it's between him and Rain. And Ed doesn't want to do the repeat thing. Like, that's what he said. And if you did Rain, then people would be whining, why didn't you do Sindel and Baraka too?
Ugh.
And it's just a hassle. And, you know, the cynical part of me says they're going to do Chameleon so that they can give him both Noob's moves and Rain's moves, the same reason they did Triborg. I fucking hate Chameleon, man.
Yeah, that would suck.
To me, he's a joke character. I don't want Chameleon. I want Noob Saibot.
I just like individual characters. Yeah, I just don't like hybrids like that. But yeah, I think Noob definitely has one of the best chances out of all these characters. I think on polls he's highly requested. I think he was on Ed Boon's poll, if I remember.
I know Maximilian keeps championing him. Like, that's who he wants the most.
I can't remember Ed Boon's 4, but I could have sworn Noob was on there, and he always ranks really highly on any poll of characters that people want. So I would be shocked if he didn't end up making this game. I would say if he doesn't end up making this game, it's gotta be because they either have plans for him in the next game, they just don't want to use them right now, or maybe because Johnny has the shadow moves, but I highly doubt that's a reason.
I really don't think that what Johnny does in his stunt double style is enough to justify not having Noob's shadow clones.
Sure, I mean, you can do a lot more with his shadow clones anyways. Yeah. Through all the variations, you can get more creative with them way beyond what Johnny can do. So I agree that there's a lot of potential there. Plus, you could have a variation based on portals and stuff like that. Noob actually made my honorable mentions because I'd like to see him back, and I would, like I said, I think he has a great chance to come back.
Yeah. My number 3 is Shujinko, for mostly the same reasons Temp picked him. But more than that, it really, really, really bugs me that the reboot has not once addressed what the fuck happened to this guy. Like, his quest for the Kami Dogus started way before MK1. whatever Raiden changed in the timeline can't have stopped him. Like, if his quest has been interrupted, if the Dragon King's not coming back and all that stuff, you need to explain how that happened.
Right.
I need fucking answers. And the comic didn't even address it. Like, the comic acted like the Kamidogus are a completely different thing, and Shujinko's just some random Shaolin monk. And it's like, the plot of deception never happened. And that doesn't make sense. Like, you listen... If you read Vogel's tweets, he's like, no, everything that happened before MK1 still happened. So it's like, where the fuck is Shujinko then? In what way did his history change? It's the biggest mystery of the new timeline for me, and I just want answers.
Sure.
Very nice. Live action Shujinko.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely expressed my opinion. I'm not a big Shujinko fan.
No, and I mean, he's not a good character. Like, the only reason I'm picking him is, well, two reasons. The story stuff, I want fucking answers to this giant goddamn mystery.
Right. And
I agree with Temp that I think there's a lot of potential for the fact that he can copy other people's moves. With the 3 variation system, there are so many different ways and combinations that you can use that could be really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
And I mean, beyond just, like, copying on the spot, like Shang's morphs or Shinnok's imposter style.
Right.
If he, like, just goes into every fight and his specials are, like, okay, I throw a spear made of ice and it freezes you instead of pulling you. Like, weird combinations of the stuff that he supposedly learned from other characters.
Yeah, it could, like I said, it could be interesting. I'm not a big fan of characters just kind of being able to use other people's moves, but in my opinion, what would make him interesting is if you took those powers and found a different way to use them. Kind of like how you're saying there's a lot of possibilities with that. I think if he had Scorpion's spear, just pure example, and he used it in a different way, that would definitely be cool.
Yeah, like, I'm not being creative enough right now to come up with good examples.
Sure.
But I would love to see him, like, have the abilities other characters have, but use them in ways those characters don't use them.
Right. Yep, that would
sort
be
of like
neat.
how we say if Sub-Zero and Frost were in the same game, she would have ice moves, but they'd all be different moves.
Right. And yeah, I could agree there. Seeing him, it'd almost be kind of fun seeing what other move he has next to offer, and what kind of twist he puts on a classic move. I think would definitely be cool.
And also, honestly, it would be kind of funny to me if they, like, borrowed a little something from Injustice 2, and he had, like, Damashi, the little ball of light, floating next to him during fights.
Yeah.
Or, like, he would summon him. And then you could have, like, stupid intros where, like, he goes, yes, Damashi, I will do as you ask. I don't know, that'd be funny. But, but yeah, so that's my bid for Shujinko. I would really like to see him. He made my top 4.
Cool.
Number 2. Yep,
2.
Number 2 is Fujin. I probably don't need to say why.
Yeah, Fujin.
At this point, it's just like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, I really want to believe that Ed's fucking rusing us on this one, that they've been planning for Fujin to be in the last pack all along, the same way the Killer Instinct guys were pretending they hate Idol, and then the last character they release is Idol. I would love for that to be true. I don't think it is, but I'd love it for it to be true. Are you going back to the Lady Mad Cat well?
What? No, this is actually by somebody else. This is Snow-J. It's not nearly
Wow.
sexualized and naked enough to be Lady Mad Cat. Oh, it is Lady Mad Cat.
I told you.
Why? Hold on a second. It says Fujin by Snow-J on DeviantArt. Did somebody
Yes,
just
but
jack
under
her?
that it says Fujin redesigned by Lady Magic.
Right.
See, the link goes to a different picture.
Okay, that's a completely different picture, yeah.
That's why you're confused.
Oh well, we're revisiting Lady Mad Cat with a different design of hers, it looks
It's
like.
fine. Her art is very realistic and
The hell
detailed.
is that? Yes, it's very...
I appreciate her skills.
Indeed. I like the long flowing hair. That
As
looks
he
like
has
he
a-
might trip over as he's walking.
We'll see. He can control the wind. He can just blow it out of his way.
Sure. This all makes sense, what you're saying. But yeah, no, I mean, Fujin, yeah. What haven't we said about Fujin over the last year or so? It's just been...
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's kind of sung the praises or why we want Fujin or
Yeah,
all the
we're
potential.
all getting like real cynical and down about it at this point, but that doesn't mean I don't want it anymore. And like, so there was a point where Temp was saying that he doesn't really want Fujin to be DLC because he's afraid that'll take away Fujin's chances of being in the next game.
I don't think that's true.
I mean, it could be because Kenshi is the only guy who moved from DLC to the main roster in the last one.
Is that really surprising, though?
No, but
I
at
mean,
the same
Rain
time,
just gets... Yeah, Rain just always gets left behind because I don't think they really like him all that much. Maybe that'll change now that Prince is dead.
I think from what I've seen is the writers like Rain, but Ed himself doesn't.
Yeah, he probably
since
still sees
that's
him as a
Michael Say.
joke. And
Yeah.
Scarlet, who knows what's up with Scarlet, and then
Yeah.
Freddy obviously wasn't going to return.
See, I knew Scarlet wasn't coming back the moment she was released, and this was my big complaint when she came out, is they didn't put enough meat on the bone with that character. If you're going to create someone new, they need to have enough story to measure up to all these people who've been around for 20 years.
Right.
And all they did was make a fucking mindless golem who kind of steals Melina's moves.
I think Injustice 2 will prove that theory or that idea of DLC characters from the last one having lesser chance to make the roster this time. I think Martian Manhunter and Zatanna have great chances. Batgirl has a decent chance. I don't think...
I hope. I mean,
I think it's just at the end of the day, it comes down to who do they really want to include. If anything, it gives them a better chance because if they're not going to repeat DLC from back-to-back games, they really got to think harder about those characters.
well, I think the reason Injustice characters have a better chance is because their design philosophy for Injustice 2 is mostly to keep the same special moves.
Yeah, which is great. I mean, not to go on a tangent, but we both.
So it's like we already built these assets, so it's easier to drop them in the new roster.
Right.
But the thing with Fujin, I think, and the reason like I'm willing to put him in as DLC and then like run the odds of that screwing over his chances to be an 11 is because I think Fujin is so much of an important character now that we have a Dark Raiden again.
Right.
Like in any universe where Raiden is evil or a fuck up, any situation where he needs to be replaced, you have to have Fujin around, and you need to start promoting this guy early and often if you're going to build him to replace Raiden.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, and I mean, I've wanted Fujin to replace Raiden since MK4's endings told us Fujin was going to replace Raiden, and then they fucking chickened out in the next one.
And besides, you might as well run that risk because you'd feel pretty dumb if we said, well, I hope he's not DLC in this game so he can be in the main roster the next game, and then he's not in the main roster the next game.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, well,
twice.
yeah,
Yeah.
might as well just get him while we can, and that way you can solidify that he at least made a return, got more story development, and was playable in another game.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, take what you can
All right.
get, I suppose. All right, honorable mentions.
Yes, so I said that my honorable mentions are actually people who I kind of like more than my number 7 pick.
Sure.
And the reason that I or at least 2 out of 3, the reason that I put these guys as honorable mentions instead of either of them stealing Dagon's spot is because I think they have a much better chance of actually getting in, so I don't need to push as hard for them.
Right.
So my number 3 honorable mention is Frost.
I like your style, sir. Frost was on my list.
Yeah.
Quite high.
Well, it's like I joke when I say what we're actually going to get is Chameleon, a horror character, an 80s character, and then one 3D era person.
Right.
I think Frost is probably who they'd pick for the 3D era person, because if you look at, like, why did they pick Bo Raicho? It's like, well, which characters in Deadly Alliance do you think Ed doesn't hate? And I can only think of 3. And it's Bo Raicho, Frost, and the person I'm going to say after.
Well, the thing is,
oh dear,
about Frost is she's popular. She was pretty high up on that Event Hub's poll. I think she was like top 5 or something. I can't remember, maybe 2 or something like that.
She was very
okay. And
hey kids, remember Midwood?
And this is that the designer of this?
Yes, Midwood, the guy who does all the really, really detailed...
Yeah, Temp and I were looking at some of these last time.
Weird character designs. This guy's been doing Mortal Kombat art since MK4, and he's still at it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
His style hasn't changed in all that time, no matter how weird anyone thinks it is.
Kudos to him. But, yeah, no, Frost is just like... Man, I went on a long, kind of passionate tangent on Frost, is because she's a character... She's probably, behind Kenshi, she's probably my favorite character introduced in Deadly Alliance, and I really like Sub-Zero as, he's my favorite ninja character, and he's he's top 3 favorite characters in all of Mortal Kombat, and having a female version of that can use those powers in a different way, so she's more nimble and fast and quicker and more elegant as she, graceful as she moves around, I think is just added on top of that. So it's basically... As I put it in mine, is I'd basically be getting a mix between Katana and Sub-Zero, and I'd be 100% for that. So I would definitely like to see her come back. It sucks that she never came back other than Unchained or Armageddon, of course. So I'd like to see her come back.
They've done a really shitty job with her character development, like her story and everything after Deadly Alliance. Like I like her turning on Sub in Deadly Alliance, because it's like the backstory of Obi-Wan and how Anakin became Darth Vader in Star Wars. Like, the idea of, well, like, I tried to be a teacher and it turns out I'm not good at it, and that's, like, my fault.
Right.
I think that adds to, like, Sub-Zero as, like, a wise guy, a wise old man who's, like, made mistakes and learned lessons.
Right.
But, like, just after that, they had nothing for her, so they kept freezing her in blocks of ice over and over again.
Yeah, that was lame. I'd just like to see her in a 2D game. I think the fun of variations with her would be really interesting, especially when you have to differentiate her from Sub-Zero. So I think if they're creative enough, which, if we took 20 minutes, 15 minutes right now, I'm sure we could come up with some great stuff for her and how to use her ice or just use it in a different way. I think she'd be a lot of fun as a character, gameplay-wise. Like I said, just a quicker, faster, more nimbly... graceful Sub-Zero would be really, really cool. Maybe more aggressive with her attitude, just stuff like that.
Yeah, more rush downy.
Sure, give her some MMA kind of added into that. I don't know. She'd be a lot of fun.
One of the few things I really liked about the comic is that little bit of a backstory it created for Frost, where she's like, she grew up on the streets as an orphan and she was in underground fight clubs. I think that sort of explains why she has that edge to her.
Right.
That made her such a bitch to Sub-Zero.
Definitely. And I think her chances are decent for coming back. Like I said, she always does well in the polls. She has that whole being the only real female ninja, which I mentioned in the last one. I don't really... Obviously, Katana and Melina are more assassins than ninjas. So she's got the whole classic ninja garb going for her, which I think kind of sets her apart a little bit. She just has a really cool, badass look to her.
Yeah. In terms of like her outfit, she dresses more like the Dude Ninjas. I think that's kind of a cool thing.
Yeah.
Like. I know that when she first came out, like one of the big points of contention for a lot of people who didn't like her is her punky spiky hair,
which I think is awesome.
I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I like it too. It's one of my favorite parts about her actually is the spiky hair.
It hasn't always been modeled the best, but I think it's like the idea of it is a really cool design. And if they, really worked hard to make it look nice.
Sure. Definitely. Like I said, I think she would be an awesome addition. Yeah, I would not be surprised to see her back. I think she has reasonable chances. I'd say 40 to 60%, I think. In my opinion. Next honorable mention?
Yeah, so this is the other person who I think has the best chance of filling that someone from the 3D era that Boone still likes slot. Right. And that's Lee May.
Yep. She has decent chances. I don't see her as highly up there as Frost, but I think she looked great in story, and if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it here. So I'm not sure. Damn.
Yeah.
Shirt.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the reason that I feel like her and Frost have such good chances is because, like Bo Raicho, they already have a model in the game, so they'd be easier to develop for. Like, they don't have to redesign her from scratch. She's already physically built. They just need to give her moves.
Right.
And in terms of design, I mean...
What the hell is this?
That is just an edit. That's just MK9 graphics.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that is.
Like Melina? Put a bandana on Melina, change the mouth.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, and I think... I mean, so... Lee May as a character, like, when she was introduced in Deadly Alliance, she was, like... more boring than Liu Kang. Like, she was just the female kung fu person. Like,
right.
That was her whole thing. And then, like, I know a lot of people hate it, but I feel like her ending story, where she, like, gets halfway merged with the mummy, and then she's saved, but there's still some, like, mummy in her brain, so she starts falling in love with Onaga because she wants to serve him like the mummies do.
Right.
That was, like... That gave her a story. That gave her something interesting. And they can't do that in this timeline because those events haven't happened. But in its place, I feel like I'd be okay with, she's like older now and she's got a bit of that housewife-looking face to her, but in the story what she is like, she's like the village leader. She's responsible for her people and taking care of them, and I don't know, I think there's more meat on the bone there than if it's just like, I'm young and spunky and naive, and I'm what Liu Kang was in MK1.
Plus, I mean, she gets that sweet-ass t-shirt out of it.
I saw the shirt. I wish I had that shirt.
But no, yeah, I think the story potential is there. I think she's definitely a cool character. The only issue is, what role does she fill that other characters can't fill? Unless we bring Onaga and they go that same route, what role is she filling? That's the only part that I struggle with. So the thing that a lot of endings tease in MKX is this idea of what happens after the story is Dark Raiden attacks Outworld, so Kotal Khan's side are the good guys in a Mortal Kombat tournament. Okay.
And we already saw I think the most interesting thing about that is what we saw in Bo Raicho's ending, that he would actually be on Kotal's side, and this would be the first time he'd be able to compete in the tournament, because, you can only fight for what realm you're from, and he never believed in the Outworld cause until now.
Right. Interesting.
And I think, since, Lee May is, like, the mayor or whatever of her village, and she's all about protecting her people and taking responsibility for them, she would join that tournament too. And I think that's sort of, and maybe that's something to be saved for the next game.
Yeah.
But I have this like pipe dream wish way down deep, where what I want to see them do before they stop supporting MKX is release a DLC story pack. And I want that story pack to tell the story of that tournament between Dark Raiden's side and Kotal Khan's side. Because all the characters that are relevant to that story are already in this game. And I'm afraid that if they save it for MK11, and then they don't bring back some of those characters like Bo Raicho, we're missing some of the most potentially interesting things about that tournament story.
Sure.
So that's why I'd like to see Li Mei and how I'd like to see her used. But because I know the idea of story DLC is such a pipe dream, and like that's disappointing, because Ed, when the game was coming out, he kept referring to it, we want this game to be a platform. Well, just releasing character packs isn't making your game a platform. You need to put out actual content like Killer Instinct and Street Fighter have been doing.
Well,
but because
Street
I know they're probably not...
basically putting out the rest of the game.
Well, yeah. I mean, they kind of scammed people by making them pay full price before the content.
Sure.
But that's the idea of what a game as a platform is.
Right.
Is it lasts for years because they keep putting out more content, not just like characters to play, but modes. And I know they're not going to do that. That's why I left Li Mei as on an honorable mention instead of making the top 7.
Sure. All right, and the last honorable mention?
My last honorable mention, this guy actually made the honorable mention list because he's lower than Dagon.
Mocap?
No, not Mocap.
Drawman?
Actually, Kai.
Who's Kai? No, I'm just kidding.
Well, see, please don't use an Armageddon picture. I fucking hate that costume so much. You're gonna do it now, aren't you?
No,
I should have said nothing.
Not gonna do it. I'm not.
Yes, I believe you. But anyway, I want Kai because, first of all, he has that MK4 connection, where, like, this game is a Shinnok game, so it would have kind of been nice to see more of those characters come back. But mostly because...
Don't bother what I'm doing.
Right.
You're good.
I won't telegraph what you're Google searching here.
Of course.
Mostly I want Kai, and I've said this a million times before, because MK finally needs an Eddie Gordo. Somebody who does capoeira.
Right.
Just fucking do it already, NetherRealm. You're killing me. Like, you finally got drunken boxing to work in 2D. Well, where's my capoeira guy?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the capoeira style, and they don't really use that. I remember going back to Deadly Alliance, everyone was calling for a capoeira guy, and some thought maybe Reptile or something like that, but sorry, every time I think of Kai, his appearance in MK4 always reminded me of.
That's fair.
Which, coincidentally enough, now he plays, obviously he plays the voice of Aquaman, but originally Jon Stewart in the Justice League cartoons.
He's...
Something Lamar. Lamar, what is his name?
Phil Lamar?
Phil Lamar, there you go.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, he's got some range. He's voiced a lot of stuff.
But yeah, I don't know. Kai and MK4 always, like the way his mannerisms and the way he sounded always made me think of him.
Yeah, I can see it.
But yeah, I mean, Kai he's never been one that I've been super big on. I like the fireballs going up and down through the screen or whatever. Interesting.
I will admit, like, he's a lame character. Like,
sure.
never been popular. Like, when you think of, like, the things people hate about MK4, the bottom is Jarek, and then the next guy up is Kai, so that's not a ringing endorsement.
Right.
The potential of what he could be has always been really interesting to me. And, like, I thought he had a decent shot of making it in the game before we found out that Kung Jin was a thing that exists, because I thought, well, Liu Kang and Kung Lao are dead, who's the next generation Shaolin guy? And that's what Kai was created to be back then, so I thought maybe they'd try again.
Right.
And I don't know, I always felt like a lot of the problems with MK4, and this goes for Fujin too, is they set up a new generation of characters. Like, Kai was Liu Kang's apprentice, so that Liu Kang could finally retire. And Fujin was the next Raiden. And they just didn't follow through. Like, they just decided, well, nobody likes those guys, so they're not in the next one.
Yeah.
And that is a bummer. Because I feel like my philosophy is, if something doesn't hit the mark, try to fix it. Don't just dump it.
Unless that person's name is Dairu.
Well, yes, unless... Well, no, I even think Dairu could be fixed. I don't know why you'd want to, but he could. Like, I think everybody has a chance to be what MK9 Striker was, where you take a guy who everybody hated and you fix him.
Right.
I think it's harder for some than others. I don't think Kai is that bad off.
Well, I mean, I'm with you on the whole capoeira thing. I think that would be kind of cool to see. I mean, we still have yet to really get that going, so.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So there's my honorable mentions.
And now it is time for the main event, numero uno.
Gee, I wonder, there's somebody Razor really, really likes that he hasn't said yet. Who could that be?
Let's see. Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor.
Exactly. No. Fucking Sareena, man. Everybody saw this one coming. Gotta have my waifu.
Alright, we'll give her like an actual decent picture here.
That's a pretty good one.
Very sexualized.
Let's not pretend I like her for any other reason.
She is a goth chick.
I'm predictable. What can I say?
Damn it, every single video I've accidentally hit this damn Netherkast logo and had to readjust it.
I've noticed
it's always at the same time of the video too, I think. It's always when it gets like packed and I'm having to adjust things. Anyways. No, yeah, Sarena's great. I think she should be brought back for sure. She made Temp's list, she made my list, she made your list. In fact, I think she is the only one other than Fujin to do that, so that's pretty impressive. Lee May, I guess. So we have those three in common.
Like, honestly, I don't know if you've ever, like, checked the comments on Ed's tweets, but there's, like, this collection of people who spams her name in response to every tweet he posts. Like, they're just going the obnoxious route, trying to campaign to get her in.
That helps.
Like even Fujin doesn't have that.
Hey, at least they don't have the stink that Reiko has of somebody threatening Sean Hemrick's wife.
Jesus.
You remember that?
Vaguely.
Somebody said if you don't put...
Are fucking,
I know, it made him quit Twitter because somebody like threatened, I don't know, like sexual or physical violence against Sean Hemrick's wife. And after that, he quit Twitter because that's ridiculous.
Well, you know what? Honestly, in terms of, like, benefit to the human race, Twitter is one of the worst mistakes we've ever made.
Yeah, there's a lot of sick, disturbing people out there.
Like,
especially those who are from Finland that fucking downvote our videos. Anyways.
Well, you're not wrong.
But I don't know. But no, I think, Sarena's great, and I think she has a lot going for her. She's got the look, she's got gameplay potential, and she has storyline potential, so she has all three factors that really help, and I think One has to think that Ed likes her. I mean, why not like her?
I hope so. I mean, I don't understand why anyone would not like her. Look at this character design. She's got a stripe in her hair and tattoos on her. This is the most interesting female character, looks-wise, in the series. Like, the only thing that really competes is Sindel, who's a fucking old lady, and Melina, who keeps it behind a mask most of the time, and I don't know, like, the only reason I've ever seen anybody justify not liking Sareena is because of her moves. And that's a fair argument. Like, they've never put any effort behind it.
But, I mean...
They've never tried to give her a move set that feels like it has character.
And sure, and that's what the 2D games, the newer games are doing, is they're fleshing out these characters and making them awesome. So if that's her only downfall, it's only going to go uphill or, downhill or however the hell you want to look at it from there. It's just going to get better. So
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think she has a cool design. I dig it. I think in MKX she looked great. I thought her character model looked fantastic. I think just put her in the game. She has some cool storyline potential, and like I said, gameplay-wise, you can build upon a lot, whether it's in the variation system or not. You can put a lot in there. I mean, you can always expand upon a moveset. How many times have we seen characters that have had a million moves still receive more and more that are still creative? A character that only has 2 or 3 currently, her knives or whatever, daggers and stuff like that, just add on from there.
Like, I wouldn't bring back the daggers or even the sickles from mythologies because, like, I feel like there's a tendency when they run out of ideas to just throw a weapon at a character.
Sure.
And the weapon never has any, like, character to it. It doesn't really add to their personality. This is the problem with, like, Tanya and her variations other than Pyromancer is like, what do the bladed tonfas say about her? Nothing. Like, the pogo sticking on a spear is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But it came out of left field. She never had a spear before. So it's like... And plus, like, Kano is the guy who throws knives. You can't have people keep stealing from Kano because... people stealing moves from Kano is like a famous thing in MK history, and those characters are always really hated for it, Jarek and Kira. So, like, she doesn't need knives. Like I've said before, that what I would do is... I think, like, in terms of if you read her lore, the superpower that she has is the ability to, like, suck life force out of things and then use it to shapeshift between human form and demon form.
Did you say suck the life form out of things?
I said suck the life force.
And how does she go about doing this?
Well, I don't know. But I'm just going to throw this out there. She's a demon, and she was probably picked to serve Quan Chi for her sexual prowess. I'm pretty sure that's what he was using those women for.
So you're saying that she likely sucks the life force with her elbow?
Sure, why not?
I knew it.
I mean, I've played Darkstalkers. That's how Morrigan does it, with her elbow.
Don't sleep on that bow.
But no, what... Like, so I'd like to see some sort of maybe, like, shapeshift an arm into a crazy clawed demon arm and swipe with it, or something like that. And, like, the one move that I would really like to see kept, and I've said this before too, is she had a move in Armageddon called the 5-star kick, which was basically a shadow kick. Except once it connected, it turned into a 5-hit combo.
Huh.
And the way I imagine that in my head, if you were to, like, elaborate on that move and make it look cooler, is like if she were drawing a pentagram with her foot as she kicks you. Like, she makes, like, a magic circle and then it explodes on the last kick or something like that.
Sure.
Just play up the demon from the Netherrealm thing. Pentagrams. It's a thing.
All right. I think we're all in agreement there. It's interesting that so far the 3 characters that have made every single list... Actually, Havik's in there as well. So we've had Havik, we've had Fujin, we've had Sareena, and we've had Li Mei. So that's 4 characters we can at least all agree on that made our top 7 plus 3 honorable mentions. Interesting. And not a single one will make it if there's an actual comment back.
Probably not. It's definitely Chameleon, fucking mocap. It'll be RoboCop and Terminator.
Well,
honestly, if we had to have, like, I'll just throw this in, if there absolutely has to be a horror guest, nobody but Ash, man. That's the only guy I can vote for there.
I'd like Ash as well. I put Freddy only because we have Jason. I don't see Jason coming back. I feel like all these guest characters are one-offs, so obviously bringing Freddy back kind of...
If we did get Freddy again, I wouldn't complain, because it would finally complete the him and Jason thing.
But there was a caveat that I said, or caveat is, it has to be Robert Englund Freddy.
That would be nice. Like, just because then you... Like... Nobody's silent in intros anymore. It has to be a guy who's talking.
Right.
Robert Englund is the voice of Freddy. Like,
exactly.
Jackie Earle barely spoke in that movie.
Right, and like you said, we didn't get intro voices in MK9, so I feel like in MKX, Temp said it has to be one glove instead of the two, and I said it's got to be Robert Englund, and imagine the comedy gold you're going to get in intros. It'll be the next Johnny Cage, on how great they are.
I'll tell you why they did two gloves. It's because NRS doesn't know how to program it so that when a person jumps from the left side of the screen to the right, everything stays like on the same side of the body it was on before.
Right.
Like, they have this is why Ed Boon hates Drawman, because Drawman's arms are not symmetrical. He has a club for a hand, and they had a hell of a time trying to get the club to stay on the same hand. So I'm just like, who cares? Let it jump hands. People, like, there are several characters in Killer Instinct who have that problem, and nobody cares.
Or just give them another club. Just be double clubs.
Drawman could be a double amputee. That could be a thing.
Why not? It's that sympathy factor.
He can't grab stuff. That's why he hates life so much. Exactly. That's why he's such an angry demon. He has no fingers.
I just think he has a cool mask. I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah, like mask. That's the best thing about Drawman is the mask. I mean, I like that he has at least one amputated hand. I think it's an original thing,
right?
For an MK character, because nobody else has that. But I mean, if I thought Drawman stood a chance in hell, I might have put him on my list. So he's not on the list. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Well, that is a list. Interesting. I'm a big fan of the UBS guy.
He's very excited.
Well, that covers it for this list. Check out the other two. Hopefully we'll have the other guys, Shadowloo and Django's, as well at some point in the future. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this, and that is another wish list. Let's see if these wish lists go as good as our Injustice ones went so far. And Injustice 2.
You know, what would be really funny is if there's not a Combat Pack 3 at all.
Honestly, that's what I don't think there will be.
Like,
but
it has not been ruled out yet that, like, people are reading too much in. Like, everybody thought he was going to announce one at EVO, and it turned out that he was talking about them putting money into the prize pool.
I said that. I said that's on record on the Netherkast that we did last time, that I said to everyone that was that prize pool and there wasn't going to be anything else. But
I don't know. Like, this is the epitome of wishful thinking.
Sure. I'm not even wishful thinking.
I'm not getting my hopes up. At this point, cynicism is the rule.
I don't know. I'm not even super excited for it, even if it did happen. I mean, it would be cool, but I'm not even really saying I'm crossing my fingers.
I think I'm actually thinking. Like the only guy who, if it happened, would get hype. Like at this point, everybody else seems to have given up on the game.
I think Temp or maybe Django would. I think Shadowloo and I don't care, and
Django would play with me. He'd be hyped about it. I think Temp has pretty much made up his mind that he doesn't really like the gameplay style of MKX.
Sure.
So he's just like, stop wasting time and make 11 already. But that's not me. I like X. want more characters.
I like it too. I've been negative about the roster and stuff like that, and there's certain gameplay things that I'm not a fan of, but overall, I mean, it's still a fun game and a very, like, there's a lot to the game, so I'm not complaining there. I'm just in Injustice mode now, and so far they've wowed me with the roster choices, so it's nice to be happy for once. Like, it's like,
I mean, well,
they're doing things good. Or well with the roster.
If I liked Injustice's gameplay, I would be super hyped because they have been on point with the roster.
Right. No, I understand that. Yeah, it is kind of different. I definitely prefer MKX's gameplay. That is for sure. But on that note, that wraps it up for this wish list for Razor, and we will be back for potentially a part 4 and part 5, depending on people's availability. And on that note, see you later.
Peace.